Their loss has been devastating.
News involving former
Now, I was really moved by a YouTube video.
You're listening to the official Reformed Stoic podcast, covering politics, philosophy, theology, conspiracy theories. I'm ready to get to the bottom of this life. Are you? Join Wolfgang, Sketty Squad, Purity Gang, as we strive to take dominion over this dying planet. I am Reformed Stoic, and this is my podcast. Let's go. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's hit it. Get it. How are my buddies? Yep, still got the same intro. You know, people seem to like the intro, dude. If the intro ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd like something a little bit more professional. Something more like Anchorman, dude. Ron Burgundy. Just something really like clean. Something really clean around the edges, not over dramatic. You're listening to the Reformed Stoic podcast. It's super fancy. Well, today is a very, very, very special podcast. Why? Because I literally didn't even really plan at all. We just threw up a bunch of random crap. It's all politics related, it looks like, for the most part. It looks like there was another shooting. And then a little bit about Christian persecution. We might be shooting for one of the shorter podcasts today. At some point, we're going to have to try a shorter podcast. Maybe today will be that day. In and out, cover some topics. In, out, cover some topics. Learn, share with each other. We're in the know, baby. And it doesn't take that much to be in the know. Scat it. The FTX scam. Yes, a tiny bit. I have been following that a little bit. Yeah, you know, I think this really is kind of in line with where the direction the podcast is headed. I want it to be more flexible. News is news. It's all up for grabs. Whatever's going on at any given time. People in chat can just be like, hey, man, let's check in on this. We'll pull up a clip. We're abouty, baby. Let's news segment it. Boom. You're listening to the Reformed Stoic News segment. Let's go. Alrighty, guys. So, first up, we got something about Blumph. Trump expected to announce 2024 presidential run Tuesday night. Let's go, Blumph. ABC News.
News involving former President Trump tonight and what he calls his big announcement just a short time from now at Mar-a-Lago. Expected to announce he's running for president again. Here's our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, in Florida tonight.
Donald Trump is saying his announcement will make today one of the most important days in the history of the country. But it comes after an epic losing streak. Candidates he supported were defeated in Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Nevada, and in Arizona, where overnight Kari Lake, the election-denying candidate who campaigned closest to him,
do you love this guy or what?
lost her bid to be governor. Republican Senator Mitt Romney bluntly called Trump an albatross around his party. And New Hampshire's Republican governor, a Trump critic, is throwing cold water on tonight's announcement.
Whatever announcements may or may not be happening tonight, frankly, nobody's going to care.
And on Capitol Hill, even some Trump supporters are greeting it with a shrug.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about 2024.
We need to have a discussion about going forward who's going to be the nominee. But my view is there'll be time.
All right, Trump announced it. Let's find something newer. Trump announced. Let's go. Let's announce it. Former President Donald Trump announces. Here we go. Let's get up to date.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
School. Actually, who cares? Remember, guys, turd sandwich versus giant douche.
Thank you, kids. Thank you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you. So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. Some people say, how do you speak before so many people all the time? When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth. It really is. You ought to try it sometime. Together, we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable.
I'm afraid Donald Trump's Twitter will be quite operational. I just watched Star Wars last night, so I might as well throw that in there. Yeah. It sure would be interesting if he wins. I feel like I already know what the Biden brand is, and it's very sad and depressing. Trump is also sad and depressing, but at least there's, like, kind of hope. Like, you know you're going to be disappointed, but we're living in Biden right now, and yeah. Yeah, I probably want the orange man to win.
Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American, with Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party.
Hispanics and Asians, let's go.
That has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for our country. This is a job for grandmothers and construction workers, firefighters, builders, teachers, doctors, and
grandmothers and constructors and teachers and doctors and let's go.
Farmers who cannot stay quiet any longer. You can't stay quiet any longer. You're angry about what's happening to our country. Our country is being destroyed before your very eyes. It's a job for every aspiring young person and every hard-working parent, for every entrepreneur and underappreciated police officer who is ready to shout for safety in America. The police are being treated so badly. These are great people. They can straighten out the crime. They're the ones that know how to do it. We have to give them back their respect and their dignity. This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth, we love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, that were calling me. You wouldn't believe it. People that were so far left, I figured they'd never speak to me and I would never speak to them. But our success was so incredible, like never before. And then COVID started coming in from China. We call it the China virus. Some people call it other things. But it was devastating, and we built it back and did an incredible job. But when people say Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives, I say we can all get together. And we were doing that. That was happening just prior because the success was greater than this country has ever had. We were leapfrogging China and leapfrogging everybody else, and everybody wanted a piece of it. But just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice. I am your voice. The Washington establishment wants to silence us, but we will not let them do that. What we have built together over the past 6 years is the greatest movement in history because it is not about politics. It's about our love for this great country, America, and we're not going to let it fail. I am running because I believe the world has not yet seen the true glory of what this nation can be. We have not reached that pinnacle, believe it or not. In fact, we can go very far. We're going to have to go far. First, we have to get out of this ditch. And once we're out, you'll see things that nobody imagined for any country. It's called the United States of America, and it's an incredible place.
Love the smell of a nice, fresh, nothing burger. Man, do politicians ever say anything deep anymore? They're just like, isn't our team great? We got the best team. We're the best. We're going to win. I'm going to be your leader. You guys are going to vote for me, and I'm going to win. I mean, he doesn't even say anything, dude. Same thing with Biden. Biden just says democracy over and over. Democracy. We're going to protect our democracy. Democracy. We love democracy. This is the best movement ever. The Latinos are the best ever. The firemen are the best ever. The women are the best ever. We're going to win. Nobody says anything smart anymore. That's where I come in. Dun, 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 dun. The next season of America is going to be entertaining as hell. Yeah, it is. It's like life is like the best TV show ever right now, but it's also not a good life. It's like not really a good life to live. Everyone who is registered to vote in this country should stop fooding. Let's all not vote. I'm so happy I'm an independent. Politics is so gee. Breaking. GOP projected to win the House. School GOP in the House.
Good evening. As we come on the air tonight, there is breaking news about the balance of political power in this country. 8 days after the midterm elections, NBC News is now projecting that the House of Representatives will shift to Republican control following a series of GOP wins in House races across the country. This will create a divided government, with Democrats retaining control of the Senate, so a split Congress over the next 2 years of the Biden administration. Garrett Hake has late details. Garrett, good evening.
Lester, good evening. And that's right. NBC News projecting tonight that Republicans, in a major victory, will flip control of the House of Representatives, though their margin will be slim. American voters delivering a split decision and divided government for the next 2 years, with Democrats.
I saw the black skateboarder dude riding off with JJ's phone. That was kind of funny. I'll have to check that out. JJ getting spiritually checked. JJ is interesting. A lot of interesting stuff happens to JJ.
Democrats still projected to maintain control of the Senate. All of this as we got that big announcement from former President Trump last night. Tonight, new signs of Republican divisions after former President Trump became the first declared candidate of the 2024 presidential election.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for president of...
Like how tough he is.
So many people are attracted to this guy and how he fights for this country.
But some former allies panning his return.
I think he's the only Republican who could lose.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweeting, "We need leaders who are looking forward, not staring in the rearview mirror, claiming victimhood." Mr. Trump making his announcement at Mar-a-Lago, taking aim at his successor.
Now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship.
Thank you, Sexy Santa. I appreciate that. Man, that song really brings back memories. Last time I dropped some of that sunshine. I'm feeling glad. Last time I dropped some sunshine, I listened to Demon Days all the way through, and I'll have to rock that again sometime. I like the Gorillas every now and then.
Anxiety and despair.
Mr. Trump surrounded by supporters, but notably absent last night, daughter Ivanka, who had been a key advisor when Mr. Trump was in the White House. Ivanka Trump writing, "While I will always love and support my father, going forward, I will do so outside the political arena." The former president impeached twice, including for his role in stoking the January 6th attack on the Capitol, announcing his run just as some Republicans blame his hand-picked candidates for underperforming in the midterms, but insisting his movement can make a comeback.
Just as I promised in 2016, I am your voice.
But Mr. Trump could face Republican competition, including from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, coming off his landslide re-election victory. Tonight, DeSantis brushing off talk of a Republican civil war.
Now, look, I think we just finished this election. Okay, people just need to chill out a little bit on some of this stuff.
On Capitol Hill,
I hear about DeSantis all the time, and I just don't know that much about him. I heard that he's literally a fascist. Is that true? Probably not. I get the idea he's very conservative. He's very, like, I don't know. He's kind of doing some of the same stuff Trump is doing. Bringing some, like, old, dusting off some of the old conservative ideas that haven't seen the light of day in a while.
Republican leaders in both chambers dodging questions about 2024.
Do you support him for president?
The way I'm going to go into this presidential primary season is to stay out of it. I don't have a dog in that fight.
So, Garrett, what happens next on Capitol Hill as the days to come to play out?
Lester, Democrats will now likely scramble to pass some key priorities that might lack support in a future Republican Congress, things like expanded COVID aid and more money for Ukraine. And we're also learning tonight that a former member of Congress, Democrat Karen Bass, has been projected the next mayor of Los Angeles.
Thanks for
pro-Israel, baby. Woo! Let's go, Israel! Why was Hobbs allowed to oversee her own election as Secretary of State in Arizona? That's a huge conflict of interest, and it should be investigated. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. You're not going to take out my democracy. Nobody's going to take away my democracy. I love how these people talk about how divided government is a big problem, but one-party control is always okay as long as it's Democrats. Let's go, red guy. Need to work together no matter how it's divided. Zombies, I tell you. Absolute zombies. Senate advances marriage equality. Man, let's get it. Where's my gay marriage people in the chat? Woo! All the gay marriage people in the chat say, hey-o. All the gay marriage people in the chat say, woo! Okay, 20 seconds. And what an epic 20 seconds this will be. CBS Evening News.
Well, the Senate voted today to advance a marriage equality bill that protects same-sex and interracial marriage under federal law. The vote was 62-37, with 12 Republicans joining every Senate Democrat. This clears the way for a historic vote later this week to pass what's called the Respect for Marriage Act, which had previously been approved in the House.
You know, gay people, why do you even want to get married? You think it's so wonderful? Like, you'd probably be better off not getting married, honestly. I know you're mad, like you want stuff. It's like it's shiny. You guys are allowed to get married. We want to get married. Next thing you know, you guys are actually going to be married, and then you're going to be like, damn, like it was kind of nice when we weren't allowed to get married. We were protected from something. Hey, take my wife. You haven't been to like a hacky stand-up comedy routine with a bunch of one-liners about, hey, take my wife. Soon they'll have all the rights that they already had, and then senators can focus on important issues. LOL. Yeah, taxes. There should be a gay tax. I was totally fine with LGBTQ community. Love is love. Then things got weird. And it was that moment that I began to hate them. This is like this guy's gay Hitler moment. Then things got weird for me as they forced teachers to use preferred pronouns. I wasn't a teacher, so I laughed it off. Then they sued a religious baker for not making them cake. Oh yeah, I heard about that. I wasn't religious, so I laughed it off. Then they tried to get 5-year-olds to watch drag queen shows. When you go after children, that pisses me off. John Dingle's out there somewhere, and he's pissed off gay people. Fine, take the cake, but when you bring the kids into it, John Dingle's coming. I want you, gay man. That doesn't sound good. In what ways did inequality exist? Fascist. There are, for the most part, 4 restrictions we all follow. They must be legal age, not a close blood relative, not a person who is already married, not a person of the same sex. These are the restrictions we have all lived by for centuries. If we were all following them, what's unequal? See, they're actually pushing for special rights by removing the last restriction. However, removing the last restriction would cast doubt on all others. I mean, the way I see it is that marriage comes from the Bible, and in the Bible, marriage is between a man and a woman. So, I don't know, man. You know, for me, it's just not a hill to die on. I kind of go with the Joe Rogan, like, you know, whatever gay people want to do in the privacy of their home, go for it. I just want it to be really, really, really far away from me and my hypothetical kids. Let's go! Far away from gay people. But hey, y'all probably want to be far away from me too, dude. That's what I don't get about liberals sometimes. Like, you really want to be around people who don't want you around, you know? Like, there's just some white guys in the South, you know, who chew on their freaking piece of wheat. Like, yeah, and they chew their tobacco. Like a really unfriendly version of the King of the Hill, like standing around drinking their beers and yeah. They don't want minorities around. They don't want gay people around. Why do you want to be around those people, you know? Like, I'm starting to think my political view at this point is people should just kind of start going where they want to go. San Francisco is clearly like a gay place. San Francisco is the land of the gays. Like, you know, you guys go there. I'm pretty sure Kentucky, like, you know, Kentucky's like really probably a lot of churches and chewing tobacco and white people, I think. So those kind of people can go there. Everybody should just go wherever they want to go. Africa, You know. Just kidding, dude. A lot of black people in Africa. Maybe, you know, black people could go there. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding, black people. You don't have to go to Africa. You can, though, if you want to. It's up to you. The choice is yours. Bum, 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 bum. You must confront Africa. Okay, let's move on. Before you can become a Jedi, you must confront Africa. I'm just trying to make this a little bit livelier. We got a lot of boring topics today.
Look,
Senate Republicans vote to keep McConnell as leader.
I'm not going anywhere.
Mitch McConnell claimed victory on Wednesday after Senate Republicans voted 37-10 to keep him as the minority leader, fending off a challenge from Florida's Rick Scott, an ally of former President Donald Trump, who blamed the D.C. swamp for failing to win control of the chamber in last week's midterm elections.
Here's the problem.
But at a news conference, McConnell, who is now set to become the longest-serving party leader in Senate history next year...
That's a funny picture. I saw that earlier.
...offered his own...
That guy, he means business, bro. I wonder if this guy was a badass before he was old. Looking at me, fucker. He still wants it. He's still got the fire in him.
...become the longest-serving party leader in Senate history next year, offered his own take on the party's weaker-than-expected midterm performance.
We underperformed among voters who did not like President Biden's performance, among independents and among moderate Republicans, who looked at us and concluded too much chaos, too much negativity, and we turned off a lot of these centrist voters, which is why I never predicted a red wave to begin with, if you all recall.
Trump, who announced on Tuesday that he will again run for president, had repeatedly called for McConnell's ouster and promoted Scott as a replacement, the first challenge to McConnell's nearly 16-year reign as the top Republican in the Senate.
I'm not in any way offended by having an opponent or having a few votes in opposition.
How the hell does Akon have $6 billion? Did he do a fundraiser for it? I didn't realize Akon was that successful. Damn. He sure had those singles all up in the radio in like the late 2000, before 2010. Akon.
We had a good opportunity to discuss the various differences. People had a chance to listen to both candidates. And I'm pretty proud of 37-10.
Scott, who had run the Republicans' election organization, criticized McConnell for not putting forward a party agenda during the midterm campaign. The elections left the Senate in the hands of Democrats and Republicans with hopes of little more than a narrow majority in the House of Representatives. Meanwhile, conservative House Republicans continued to bash party leader Kevin McCarthy a day after he also overcame a challenger for his chamber's top job of House Speaker.
Let's house it. Alrighty. Comments are turned off. Nice. Okay. 4 Idaho college students killed in isolated attack. Man, you never want to hear about this, and yet we always do. A lot of shootings. And I'm sure the question is continuing to be pondered. How do you stop it? By an act of will. Here we go. ABC News.
Their loss has been devastating, and they were bright lights in our community and are deeply missed and remain in our thoughts and our prayers. We've been working with Moscow police since we were notified on Sunday of the crime. We've helped when asked and continually pushed for information whenever possible, knowing that we cannot interfere with the important work and good investigations that are occurring. We just want justice for these victims.
we do need to be aware. The individual is still out there, right? We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for our neighbors. We're a community policing community. We've said that for years, and it's a community that watches out for each other. We need to continue to do that until we can close this off and make an arrest. Piece of information we get, we are following up to ensure that nothing has gone unturned. We want to have the individual identified, who is the suspect of this eventually. So we are literally looking into every aspect of everything.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
We'll see what's up with Whittier. The first podcast request in history. The Moscow cops just said watch out for each other and warn of possible threat to community. 2 other students were in the house, but 911 call wasn't made for 9 hours. So, yeah, more shootings. What else is there to say? So what happened in Whittier? Surveillance video shows moment of horrific Whittier crash that injured 25 recruits. Aha. Let's see what's going on here. Look like the video's screwed up. Boom. Yeah, the video's all screwed up. It looks like that car just like ran into all those people. Mike Pence just refused to appear before the January 6th committee. Bam. Why does that footage suck so much? It looks like the car is going to run into all those people and then it cuts to that. Huh. No way that was an accident. Either the person was drunk or they did it on purpose. Praying for the victims and their families. Prayers for all the families of victims. Huh. Strike? Did I get a strike? Oh. Yikes. Screwed up. Yeah, let's just keep jumping around here. Let's get the latest on Mike Pence. Let's see if we have Mike Pence refusing. Mike Pence calls former president. So it looks like the latest we have is 3 hours ago. Mike Pence on Trump, the 2020 election, and the January 6th committee. Must be breaking news. 9 minutes ago, Mike Pence reacts to video of January 6th rioters chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Oh, crap. All right, let's do this one.
Since we're talking about January 6th, I do want to take you back to that day. Take a look at the video over here. That, of course, was the news hanging outside the Capitol that day, and rioters were calling for your execution, chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Almost 2 years later, is it still tough to... There's some of the video of the Hang Mike Pence. 2 years later, is it still tough to see that and hear that?
Jake, it saddens me. But that day it angered me. I must tell you, when the Secret Service took us down to the loading dock, accompanied by my wife and my daughter Charlotte and our Secret Service detail, I was determined to stay at my post. I told the Secret Service that I was not leaving the Capitol. I didn't want to give those people the sight of a 16-car motorcade speeding away from the Capitol that day. But frankly, when I saw those images, and when I read a tweet that President Trump issued saying that I lacked courage in that moment, it angered me greatly. But to be honest with you, I didn't have time for it. The president had decided in that moment to be a part of the problem. I decided and was determined to be part of the solution. And so we essentially set that aside. I collected the Republican and Democrat leadership of the House and Senate on a conference call, and we began to work the problem. They tasked me to reach out to leadership at the Pentagon, to leadership at the Justice Department, to surge additional resources there. And thanks to the courage of those amazing Capitol Hill police officers.
Man.
And federal law enforcement.
What happened to the jumper cables, Pence? Sure have come a long way since Mike Jumper Cables Pence.
Enforcement. We quelled the violence. We reconvened the Congress the very same day. And I'll always believe that because of their courage and valor, a day of tragedy became a triumph of freedom. We demonstrated to the American people and to the world the strength of our institutions, the resilience of our democracy. But those memories, those images will always be with me.
So you just said that the president in that moment decided to be part of the problem. And I have to say, as somebody that had been reporting on it for the months leading up to January 6th, I don't think anything happened in that moment that was part of the problem. President Trump had been campaigning in favor of the overturning of the election for months and months and months. It wasn't in that moment, and he wasn't part of the problem. He was the problem.
Well, look, the people that rioted at the Capitol are responsible for what they did. And as I said that day, and have believed every day since, those people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. When I saw the images of people smashing windows, ransacking offices, and creating the mayhem that ultimately cost lives, I was filled with a simmering indignation. I'd served in the Congress for 12 years. I dreamed from the time I was a little boy, as I wrote in my book, about someday representing my hometown in Congress, and to see what was happening there. The first time since 1814 at our Capitol building, I just found myself thinking, not this, not here, not in America. And I hear you loud and clear. Look, in the weeks after the election, I had told the president that after all the legal challenges would play out, which the campaign had every right to bring.
Sure.
I mean, there were, Jake, voting irregularities in a number of states where election laws had been changed by either executive action or by the courts. There was never evidence of widespread fraud. I don't believe fraud changed the outcome of the election, but the president and the campaign had every right to have those examined in court. But I told the president that once those legal challenges played out, he should simply accept the outcome of the election and move on. But he was hearing different voices. And frankly, there were some legal experts that were allowed on the White House grounds that should have never been let through the gate.
Yeah, you're talking about Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. I want to come back to that in a second, but I do want to show this moment because it was so important and so heartbreaking. This is inside the Capitol. This is video of the Secret Service trying to get you and your wife Karen and your daughter Charlotte to safety. As rioters came within 40 feet of you, we found out later, your family's lives were at risk. Not just yours, although that would be tragic, but your wife's and your daughter's. And I was worried for you that day, sir, covering this. I was worried for your wife. I was worried for your daughter. I'm relieved that nobody was harmed. If I were you, I would still be livid with Donald Trump. I would be so furious. And I know you're a measured man. But are you still angry?
Man, Mike Pence on CNN. Some strange energy here.
Well, I must tell you, the president's words and tweet that day were reckless. They endangered my family and all the people at the Capitol. And I was angry. But you know, my Christian faith tells me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And in the Christian faith, forgiveness is not optional. We literally pray in the Lord's Prayer to forgive those who trespass against us. And in the days that followed, when the president asked to meet with me after he'd made the right statements to the country, he'd committed to a peaceful transfer of power, he'd condemned the people that rioted at the Capitol, we met and we sat down. And I prayed for God's grace to meet that moment in that spirit. And it wasn't easy. And And to be honest with you, I'm as human as the next guy. And I still pray for the president. And I pray for the grace to forgive him and all those responsible for that.
They're not going to want to hear that. They're not really about forgiveness around there, Pence. You're not preaching to the choir anymore.
Tragic day. But I truly do believe that we live in a time when the American people ought to be searching our hearts and having more grace toward one another. I mean, it seems like our country is more divided now than ever before. Even broadcast networks seem to be perceived to be divided along partisan lines, which is why I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on CNN today. I just think if all of us can be more forgiving to one another, we'll...
Man, imagine listening to this traitor. Yeah, whatever, dude. He stabs Trump in the back. Let's go, Trump. Let's Trump it. Let's Trump it. Look at this traitor. That's the face of regret right there. Traitor in the den with the enemy.
We'll have unity in this country more than we've had in recent years. And with that unity, we'll meet the challenges that America faces in the balance of this new century.
Traitor. No, I don't really care. All right, that was interesting, I guess. I do not like this man, not politically or as a person, but I can acknowledge and appreciate that Pence did his job on January 6th. While that's kind of rewarding, the bare minimum, that's how low the standards are these days. Let's see one more thing before we head to the last video. What the hell has Black Lives Matter been up to? I feel like I haven't heard anything about Black Lives Matter in a while. 26 BLM chapters sue its leaders for defrauding them. Oh, looks like they're having some internal issues. Owens details shocking documentary exposing Black Lives Matter funding. Mom confronts BLM protesters outside her home. BLM executive siphoned $10 million, lawsuit claims. Let's take a look at this one. News Nation, 2 months ago.
We have another developing story we're following. Several leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement, they filed a lawsuit against a former Black Lives Matter executive for allegedly stealing $10 million for his own personal gain. Nick Smith is here with a breakdown of this lawsuit. Nick?
Adrian, I can tell you this has been extremely popular online. Black Lives Matter has been the heartbeat of the social justice movement across the nation since 2013 after the death of Trayvon Martin. But more recently, the civil rights organization has come under fire and under a cloud of suspicion after allegations that one of its founders and some of its other leaders used contributions to pay themselves high six-figure salaries and buy million-dollar homes. Now, 26 different Black Lives Matter chapters have filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court claiming the head of the Black Lives Matter Global Fund Network used $10 million of charitable contributions for his personal use. The group Black Lives Matter Grassroots says Shalimaya Bowers defrauded local BLM chapters by siphoning funds away from them and using the money to pay his own consulting business millions in fees. Bowers was hired by Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors in 2020 to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which is a subsidiary of the Black Lives Matter organization. Now, Bowers denies the claims made against him in the lawsuit. News Nation reached out to Black Lives Matter Global Fund Network. Their attorney said, in part, the allegations in the September 1, 2020 complaint filed by Melania Abdullah and BLM Grassroots that Shalimaya Bowers and Bowers Consulting Firm siphoned more than $10 million of donors' money from Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is completely false. Neither Melania Abdullah or BLM Grassroots blatantly and intentionally lied with this allegation in their order to garner salacious news headlines, or they simply failed to do their due diligence before making such a wild and unfounded accusation. Either is simply unacceptable. Now, in the lawsuit, the 26 chapters are asking for damages and restitution. They want their money back, Adrian, and then some.
All right, Nick, what a story, and obviously trending a lot online. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find new.
Yeah, so just so you know, SJW Karens of the world, crazy dyed red-haired women, this is why a lot of people don't support Black Lives Matter. Do Black Lives Matter? Yes, they do. The name Black Lives Matter is a trademark of this group where there's a lot of money flowing through this group, and people in higher ups in the organization are getting this money and buying themselves fancy mansions and McMansions. And it's like, you know what, guys? Let's cut the shit. It's a scam. So many scams. You should stream after the podcast. Well, I have yet to do my workout today. I got to get a workout in. If y'all want to see a workout stream and a cooking stream, I might be able to make that happen. Get $1 million home off a movement. School. Bow to George Floyd. There's no escape. There's no resistance is futile. Racist. You name a movement, and I'll name a subsidiary that's going to get cleaned out by its own leadership. I should go into business as a fortune teller. If we audit random liberal-leaning org, it's very likely we will find a similar pattern. Good for them. It's about time they explain themselves. I'm so not shocked that this keeps happening. Getting rich on the well-intentions and suffering of others. Very typical of them. I'm on fire, baby. You don't even know what he said. You just know what CNN told you. It's all been a pack of lies. Well, I'm thinking like one more newsy clip. How about Antifa? What's Antifa up to? It's too quiet. They're scheming about. Antifa news. Old stuff. How about this week? What did Antifa do this week? Here we go. Demonstrator involved in violent 2021 Pacific Beach protest sentenced to 4 years in prison. Let's Getty. FBI infiltrated Proud Boys. Whoa! What? No. That's a long one, though. The FBI infiltrated the Proud Boys. You don't say. A lot of people talking about Dave Chappelle's monologue. I've yet to hear it. Nationalist March on Polish Independence Day. Extremism in politics, an inside look. Let's take a look at this one. This is a good little balanced something.
Whether it's extreme groups on the left side, maybe Antifa, sometimes burning down cities and using violence to get their message across, or organizations like the Proud Boys, many of whom are facing criminal charges now for the riot at the Capitol January 6th.
Baseless conspiracy theories and social media are leading to more people being radicalized. And while experts say the percentage is small, estimating only about 7 to 8% on either side, they also say that they happen to be the most vocal.
CBS 21's Nick Volterro spoke with experts along with those who have traveled down that rabbit hole.
Jasmine, Joel D., it simply boils down to scapegoating. Many fear-mongering tactics previously confined to the fringes are now being used as political talking points. But this type of messaging isn't something new, and those familiar with it are terrified watching it creep its way into mainstream political discourse.
It was my coworker who told me about these prophets, and so I went on YouTube.
Unproven accusations of voter fraud by former President Trump pushed Cindy Powell to her breaking point.
My spirit was astonished, and I was starting to have panic attacks.
Cindy was banned from the most
I'm having panic attacks. What? You think that Democrats are criminals? How dare you say democracy is a sham? I'm gonna have a panic attack. Hey, you know that rocket launch that happened yesterday? That wasn't fucking real. They're not really going to the moon. I'm gonna panic.
Popular social media sites for posting misinformation over the COVID vaccine.
I've been in Facebook jail 30 times.
This led her down the QAnon rabbit hole, where she found others sharing similar beliefs.
This gosh darn QAnon, dude. There's like, the only people who still watch news are boomers and old people and like, you know, leftist college students like, oh, that dang hashtag QAnon is dangerous. Don't they know that the fake news is gonna overthrow our democracy? Like, dude, nobody gives a shit about QAnon. Nobody cares about Q. I mean, somebody out there does, but nobody in my circles, bro. On Reddit the other day, when I was talking about fraternal orders running this town, they're like, oh, it's about time for the next Q drop. It's like, I didn't say anything about Q. I've always known that Q is bullshit.
It's all connected. The politics, the shots, the one world order.
That's how she and many...
Oh, the gosh dang shots and the politics and the one world order. Can't you just calm down? Can't we just all have a nice dinner without you getting all revved up about shots and politics and the new world order? It is all connected. Never took the shot. Chatty. Fighting back against the new world order. Up, 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 up. Woo, Shaq.
Many others we spoke with ended up at this reawakening tour in Lancaster County, where conspiracy theories are commonplace.
Everything that you hear in the media is not true.
Let's go. I guess that's what we are, guys. I guess we're extreme over here. I guess we're kind of extreme. Hey, I got an idea. Let's overthrow the world government. Let's go. Actually, let's not do that. Let's be good and believe whatever the news says.
We're all pro-life. We don't want babies sacrificed.
Many QAnon adherents joined the movement with the belief they were protecting children from a cabal of global elitists.
That was the genius of Save the Kids, right? Is, you know, who can argue with being against pedophilia? But that's not really what was happening, right? You know, they were just actually sharing conspiracy theories and lies.
After seeing several loved ones fall prey to these lies, Amanda Moore went undercover at events like these to learn what's driving this crusade.
They would go to one little rally to save the children, and they would be around people who didn't care about masks, who didn't care about COVID, and they felt like they were in normal world again.
For Amanda, this was eye-opening.
So even at these events where people are already a little bit brainwashed, they're working to make sure that, you know, you're ready for the next step.
But this rhetoric and strategy struck familiar chords for Fred Cook.
If you say it's for the children, it's pretty easy to get things passed and for people to believe in it.
Cook's a former white nationalist leader who left the movement in 2013 after 30 years.
And it's constantly looking for boogeymen. You realize there really is no brotherhood. There is no...
Oh, come on, dude. You got a freaking him heartogram? You got like a Bam Margera heartogram? Oh, yeah, man. He's really about the movement. Cringe.
Cohesion or friendship.
And he's noticing the very same white supremacist ideologies he preached rebranded into more modern form.
You were fringe when you were, you know, back when I was in the movement, and now that's mainstream. And that's terrifying.
Whether it's Antifa soldiers burning down cities in Portland or neo-Nazis openly marching in Charlottesville, Virginia, fringe groups have become more visible.
It's really appealing, especially when you're a kid with no direction. They give you that.
Hey, yo. Archived. Damn, sweetie. I don't even know what your sign says. I don't even know if you got far left radicalism or far right radicalism. Whatever it is, I'm with that ass all the way to the end, baby.
You now have this larger-than-life perceived enemy that you and only your friends know about.
Although these new groups may create and promote original conspiracies, the core messages and goals are still the same. Spread fear and endorse violence as a legitimate political tool.
Everything is keeping people in a perpetual state of terror.
Then finding vulnerable groups to vilify and demonize.
They're always grasping at the next boogeyman to keep you in fear, to keep you looking for that hero that only they can provide.
Now Cook dedicates his time helping others escape extremist groups.
The number one part is to sort of see the world through a broader spectrum than the bubble that you're put in.
However, with social media giving extremists a platform, it's an uphill battle.
Freedom of speech is a great thing. However, freedom of hate speech is not a good thing.
And he understands the only way to combat extremism, left or right, is eradicating the fear that originally led to the indoctrination.
Listen to your own inner self. You know what's wrong, you know what's right.
Cook helped dozens escape from hate groups and says he understands the root cause. He says fear is at the heart of all extremism, not hatred. And it's hatred that is born out of that fear. Reporting in Harrisburg, Nick Voltero, CBS 21 News.
Real, and that's why I think NASA and SpaceX are scams and hoaxes, and the Earth is about 7,000 years old. Flat and domed, baby. Pioneers used to ride this bad boy for miles. Literally no space, never terraform Mars, never colonize the universe. Like Star Wars. Star Wars is not the future. Star Trek is not the future. Everybody's traitors and liars. The West is coming for you. Anyway, watch out for extremist lunatics who are preaching fake news. I'll let you know if I see any. All right. Sky News Australia. Christianity, the most persecuted religion all around the world? Not for long.
Now, I was really moved by a YouTube video that I saw a couple of weeks ago from a great bloke called Calvin Robinson. He is part of the Anglican Church in the United Kingdom. We spoke to him while we were there, of course, after...
You know, who said that? Yeah, I'd love to, Bernie, but it's actually it's copyrighted by Disney's Pixar. I believe the title of that footage is Finding Nemo 13. Nemo stopped transitioning 12 months ago and decided to start retransitioning again. And now he/she is having a third midlife crisis and is just about ready to give up and is getting Baker's acted for having suicidal thoughts. So we cannot watch Disney Pixar Finding Nemo sequel footage on my stream, unfortunately.
The passing of Queen Elizabeth. But he has a show on GB News. And on GB News, he spoke about the persecution of Christians. Now, you know that I'm not a person of faith, but I have deep respect for people of faith. And let's now talk about the persecution that is actually happening of Christians in the West, but also around the world. And the great man joins us now from the UK. Calvin, I was deeply moved by your speech. I'll repost it on our Facebook page. But let's be really clear. What is happening to Christians around the world right now?
Christianity is the most persecuted religion all around the world. Christians are being tortured, killed, executed, arrested for no crime at all, just for having the Christian faith. And we're seeing this everywhere we look, but most especially in Islamic countries.
So wait, is this a black Christian Jew? Is that what I'm seeing here? This is a black Christian Jew. Yes, I do believe so. All right, that's fine.
Since the West handed Afghanistan back to the Taliban, that has become the #1 place in the world for Christians to be persecuted. But what's worse than this is that we're not just being persecuted around the world. Intolerance is growing in the West too. In the United Kingdom, in Australia, in America, tolerance of Christianity has taken a nosedive. It has become socially acceptable to criticize, persecute, to be hostile towards Christians in a way that people would never dream of doing to any other faith. Hinduism, Sikhism, Islam, Judaism are all protected for a very good reason. However, Christianity is seen as, well, it's one of ours, so we can punch down. However, it's no longer punching down. In countries like the United Kingdom, it's no longer the predominant religion. Islam and atheism is taking over as of the last census of last year. This is the problem. People think, okay, we can self-flagellate because this is a Christian nation. Well, in what sense is it? And if you keep punching so-called downed Christians, eventually there will be none left. What we need to do as Christians is stand up and say, actually, we believe in our faith too. We need protection under the law too. In fact, we have it, but we need it to be upheld. And it's not
We need to stand up and say, get out of here, traitor. Get out of here. I'm going to save the West, traitor. Let's go, traitor. I'm getting pumped up today.
Okay, mock us, fine, but mock everyone equally.
Well, and that's the point. That is exactly the point, right? Which is because we know that the reaction of mainstream Christianity is nowhere near the violence that is perpetrated in reaction of other extremist versions of faith. Basically, you can mock away. You can say what you want on television. But to that point that you just said, right, and this is just a lightning chat, we'll get into a deeper one a little further down the track. But institutions and laws exist to make sure that people are not persecuted on their faith. It would be upheld in almost every other example bar Christianity.
Yeah, it's the exact same way around when it comes to racism. All of these things are actually upheld in a woke stance.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people are going to say this sounds very extreme, but I stand behind this. I think that when people say there's not enough diversity, that means that things are too white. Things are too white and too Christian. Now, I've gotten to a point where I'm trying to find the cure. I'm trying to find the balance. And what it's coming down to, guys, is I don't really give that much of a shit about white people, but I do care about Christianity a lot. That's at the very top of my cares. And I think what's going on is they're trying to make it a white thing. They're trying to reduce Christianity down to white people stuff, white culture, white religion. And that, we cannot reason with that, my friends. And I think you'll find that if you put all of your eggs into the Christianity basket and not worry so much about the white basket, it's not a bad place to be, guys. They're going to get you. They're going to get you with all this like low racism shit. Just, you got to go all in for your faith, man. They're coming for it. They're trying to trick us. They're trying to make us confused, trying to pit us against each other, man versus women, white versus black, Christian versus everybody else. We got to fight the Christian battle, baby. That's the important battle. You're never going to get anywhere waving around Nazi flags and, you know, representing LARPers like, I don't know, American Renaissance and that kind of crap. Christianity, baby. We cannot reason with these traitors. We must protect the good book at all costs.
So if, for example, someone is being racist towards a white person in this country, nothing will happen. It will be seen as okay. But if you flip it around and someone's racist to a black person in this country, they will face persecution. And then you can split that apart even further and say, if a black person is being abused racially because they are right-wing, no problem. But if they're being abused racially because they're left-wing, yes, let's clamp down. So it gets even into the politics of the person's skin color at this point. And we're seeing the same with religion. I had some well-known authors and well-known Nigerian princesses attacking me because of my religious garb that I tend to wear on a Sunday. Typical traditional Anglican religious garb. Didn't go out of my way to put it on. It's what I wear in church. And sometimes when I go from church to TV, I'm still wearing it. However, these authors and this Nigerian princess and other people were attacking me for it. And I thought that's interesting because I don't think I would see them attack an Orthodox Jew for wearing his traditional robes. I don't think I'd see them attacking an imam for wearing their traditional robes either. And my whole point is, okay, well, if you're going to mock Christianity, then do Islam too. But of course, they never would dare, would they? And that is the fundamental. It's double standards.
Yeah, what a surprise. Calvin, awesome to talk to you. Thank you very much for the conversation.
Yeah, guys, you know, when I'm trying to teach people, when I'm trying to think, what can I really do for the people? What's my expertise? Because I tell people I'm a philosopher, but I got to tell you, man, I got a lot to really boast this title of a philosopher. I probably got to go and like read a bunch of Heidegger and Schopenhauer and like a little bit of everybody. I haven't really read enough philosophy to claim that to be my expertise. And sometimes it's like, what is my expertise? Well, I think a lot of it is remembering that shift. What turned me? How did I leave behind my occult LARPing and become a Christian? And part of what the place where I was at when I was ready to see the truth is look at how anti-Christian the world is. Would you say that television is ever so slightly trying to push you towards Christianity or pull you away from it? It's just this light little pull. Seth Rogen movies, party, high school drama movies and TV shows, Friends, Seinfeld, music, it all just ever so slightly just like, hey man, let's just fornicate and do drugs and fuck off, and then just ever so slightly like, you don't need the Bible's values. The Bible is outdated and it's a lie. And so many things in our culture and secular Hollywood culture and even public school music, it's just all this very passive-aggressive attack against God, against Christian values. And it's why when you're young, it's why the young people have been so swept up by liberalism. They've been so swept up by liberalism, and now the modern radical SJW brand of liberalism. And I was getting sucked into it too. That's what I was abouty when I was in high school. I loved Comedy Central. I loved stand-up. I loved Joe Rogan's stand-up. Then I got into the Joe Rogan podcast. You know, you peer into a random day of my life at like 20 years old. Joe Rogan's the shit, dude. I want to try DMT someday, dude. I fucking love weed, bro. Let's party. Let's get hammered. Oh, you're an uptight Christian. Oh, look at these uptight Christians protesting outside of the Planned Parenthood. I just learned to see the world as Christians are a bummer. They're uptight. It's all for their sky daddy and their old, outdated book. What are Joe Rogan's arguments? Just because it's old doesn't mean it's true. Yeah, Joe Rogan's got a point. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's true. Well, just because it's old doesn't mean it's not true. And then he's got the story like, if you asked a 7-year-old retarded kid about Noah's Ark, he'd have some questions. Well, Joe Rogan is a 7-year-old retarded kid, the authority on the Bible. I mean, maybe there's somebody better we could ask, like a 45-year-old theologian who graduated from seminary school, Joe Rogan. So I experienced it for myself, how society is just like a water slide that just leads you directly to being a liberal atheist. All you got to do is go to public school, watch public television, watch TV, and then now watch Netflix, get sucked into Comedy Central. You know, you think South Park is super deep. I still think South Park is pretty funny sometimes, Family Guy, but I see the anti-Christian propaganda there too. It's everywhere. Everything subtly points away from the Bible. So either the entire world, well, it's not the entire world. Either all of this culture is right, like stand-up comedians are smart and Comedy Central's smart and music is smart. Oh yeah, we should get our opinions from like pop bands and pop singers. Ariana Grande says God is a woman. You're either getting your worldview from Seth Rogen and Joe Rogan and Ariana Grande and public news people, or for some reason, all of these things in the world are irresponsibly pointing you away from God. And isn't that what the Bible said would happen? They don't want you to know that it's an attack on God. It's this all like, oh, Christians are so dramatic. Christians are so crazy. Christians get all worked up. That is the kind of satanic gaslighting that was developed a long time ago. And LaVeyan Satanism was a big part of it. Satanists don't really worship Satan, dummy. It's all about like spirituality, and it's all about rejecting your lie. It's just like fancy atheism. Satanism has a history that goes well before the 1950s or the 1940s when that was starting. This is an ancient battle, my friends. It's an ancient battle, and we think that we're part of something new. Oh, that's all in the past. We learned from our liberal Hollywood comedians that we're above this now, and we're headed towards Star Trek. We're headed towards Star Wars. Man, when we're in the intergalactic space, and clearly they have this like interplanetary government because, you know, well, like when they're in Jabba Hutt's palace, there's all these different creatures. Really, a regular planet would probably just have one species, right? So there'd be one species on the planet. Now there's this interplanetary, interspecies government where there's all these weird creatures, and they're all under the rule of the same weird slug thing and the intergalactic planetary. That's a lie. That's not what we're headed towards. That's a transhumanist, atheist, scientism, Illuminati lie. That's not really future. That's not really where we're headed. That's not really what's going on. What's really going on is the culture of our ancestors, the culture of our greatest cousins and uncles and aunts, grandmas and grandpas. They were all Christians. The best way of life was created by Christians, but it ain't even about that. It's the truth. The Bible is the truth. And it's like, oh, well, I got an iPhone and I just watched Joe Rogan and I'm going to public school learning about dinosaurs. How could it possibly not be true? Traitors, liars, weakness, deceivers, people are lost. We're living in the Matrix, the most tired analogy ever. This society seems great if you're a fucking idiot, excuse my language, if you just fill your head full of McDonald's and you buy the new Ariana Grande album every time it comes out and you get a big extra large Coca-Cola and a big extra large popcorn, kettle corn, and a hot dog, and you watch every movie that comes out. And anytime you're sitting in class, whether it be high school or university, wow, I can't believe what I learned today. And then you go to the bar and get drunk and try to have a one-night stand like it's freaking Brave New World, and you joke with your friends about drama on social media or the latest Netflix series or somebody getting canceled. If you're an idiot and you can't put the pieces together, this society is of no threat to you. But make no mistake about it, when you realize that these people are traitors and they're trying to remove the Western world and they're trying to replace it with something new, something foreign, something evil, you will start to realize the horrors that this modern system is capable of. Their latest weaponry and technology and ability to harass, target, and stalk. This is a nasty time to be alive, you guys. It's not so nasty if you're an idiot. I hate to be an asshole. If you're an idiot, nobody's coming after you. Nobody's stalking you. You're fine. You're in the safest, most wonderful time to be alive. But when you realize that Satan is at the heart of this system and is trying to pervert and ruin everything good, you might be in for a wild ride, friendos. You want my advice? Learn what's preached here and maybe don't make a big fuss about it like I did. Because once they know who you are, they're always going to know who you are. And I'm ready, baby. Come hell or high water. I got God on my side. I'm confident about that. I repent every single day. I'm going to keep repenting. I'm going to keep doing what I do, baby. Because it's too late to turn back now. We in it. We in it, brothers. Feels like hell, honestly. At least purgatory. Once you wake up, it starts to feel that way. Everything feels fine. You know, it started when I was a little kid. I loved TV. I loved movies. I loved culture. I could just fill my life up with it. Then you start growing up, and it's like, oh, I have fee-fees. I want to make my pee-pee feel good. I want to get a bunch of women. A lot of disappointment that comes with that, as a lot of men are finding out. Then I retreat kind of back into the entertainment and my devices. And then you just start to realize that so many things are lies and there's just so much evil permeating everything. I think I already said it the best way I'm going to say it. So that's it for today, guys. This is where the podcast is at. I just freaking type news into the search engine and we're just off on our journey, man. There's no reason to overthink it. There's always going to be news. It's always going to be up for grabs. And that's what the podcast is about, baby. We're staying in the know. We're keeping smart. We're smarty. God bless you, my friends. Somebody was saying I should do a chill stream. I don't know. I'm just going to work out and eat dinner. I mean, maybe I'll do that on the stream. Maybe not. The podcast has come to an end. God bless you, my friends. I appreciate you. And I will see you next time. Until further notice, I bid you